Hi, everybody, and welcome to the British Junior Chess Championships, played over the board, and it's being played right now in Milton Keynes. And we're going to show you some of the games. We've got the under 8s going and the under 10s at the moment. So we're going to show you a selection of those games and other age groups if they come online. But at the moment, we've got under 8s and under 10s. So let's have a look.
Yeah, so this is the British under 8s, Advait Kirti Kumar against Timothy Ong. There's been quite a few moves played already, but let's just go through the game and see how that went. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and we have an Evans Gambit.
So, wow, going for it straight from the start, a very aggressive opening.
Exactly, a big shout out there to Twitter personality Howard Storm, who is always saying, trying to promote the Evans Gambit. So black normally takes on b4, plays bishop takes b4. But here black plays a rather unusual idea, bishop b6. I've only really seen, it's quite a while back, but it's the Dutch super grandmaster Jeroen Piquet once tried this against Garry Kasparov. Garry Kasparov was a very big, well, really sort of reintroduced the Evans to the highest level. So bishop b6 is quite interesting.
So we're following Kasparov Piquet so far.
Exactly. Now, I'm not quite sure where it changes. I think normally the normal reply to bishop b6 is to play a2 to a4, just keeping up the the pressure on the queen side. White played more quietly, went castles, knight f6. Pardon me, d3, d6. Yeah, I mean, black might have considered taking this pawn on b4, actually. That might have been possible. But okay, d6 is a very solid move. b5, and yeah, now I would have tended to like putting the knight on e7, coming around to g6. But knight a5 is also a good move because this this bishop is trapped now, so it means that black's going to get the two bishops. So knight a5 is a pretty good move. b3, bishop g4, yeah, pinning the knight. This light squared bishop is absent from e2, so why not pin that one? Knight c3, castles, bishop 5, doing the same to black, threatening knight d5 here. Putting pressure on f6, so black plays a6 and c6 just to cover the d5 square. And also there's possibilities now to get this knight on a5 back into play if you want, or most probably this knight is going to take the bishop on b3 and just get the two bishops for black. So h3, bishop h5, knight a4, bishop c7, takes. Pretty even position, but black's doing very nicely, really. I'd say you've got the two bishops, so you kind of think that that's a nice little edge for white, for black rather, and further there's not that much happening in the position really. So c3, rook b8, rook b1, and now black does take on b3. That's important. Don't want the bishop to move away and then just leave this knight hanging on a5.
Yeah. Black doesn't want white to have that. So I mean, black's got the bishop pair now.
The white knight on a4 is a little bit offside, So in general, I'd say that black's got a small edge, but nothing amazing. White's very, very solid, but basically, probably from the opening, black's just done a little bit of a better job than white there. So queen e7, queen e2, rook bd8. Yeah, would have maybe been tempted to play the queen out to e6 here, and just try and move the knight away, and at some stage play f5. That would have been my my plan. So rook bd8, rook fe1, and c5. Ooh, that's sort of clamping down on d4. But yeah, this bishop on c7 is looking rather sad when we've got such a pawn structure here. So now a good positional maneuver from white here. Knight b2, bishop b6, and knight c4. Oh dear! And now, after playing very well for quite a while, Black made a bit of a blunder here, unfortunately, and played d5, e takes d5, knight takes d5, and White just played
Oh, the queen's going to go.
the queen, and
that's what happens in the young age groups sometimes, and I think we've both been there ourselves, Matthew, when we were little, and
exactly.
the occasional loss of a piece.
Yeah, just occasional, I guess, maybe a lack of concentration, or just forgetting that that there's something in the position like that. But yeah, I mean, after this, then yeah, obviously Black's not going to save this. It's just too good for White. But shame for Black after a well played opening there, but well played White. That game has now been won for White there. Let's have a look at the board too. Alex Gao against Oleg Verbitsky. So c3 Sicilian indeed. C5, c3, knight f6. So this is the yeah, I guess the sharpest line for Black, really. It sort of counters directly against the one thing that's not good about this c3 move. I mean, c3 supports d2 to d4. Looking for a double pawn center, so that's good, but it does take away c3 from the knight, and that means that White loses then control or protection of e4 and d5 squares. So knight f6 hits directly back at the pawn on e5.
So c3 is a very commonly played opening against the Sicilian.
Yeah, it's one of the main ones. It's one of those annoying things, a sideline that's actually quite dangerous. So it's a lot of work on there. There's actually against the Sicilian. There's obviously the open Sicilian with knight f3 and d4 is
I guess that's vastly the most popular, is the open Sicilian.
Yeah,
but this must be the most common kind of sideline.
Yeah, c3 is very common. Well, there's a close Sicilian as well with two knight c3. That's very popular. And once you get a little bit further, e4, c5, knight f3, d6, or knight c6. There's bishop b5 as well, which is huge amount of theory on that. So it's one of the drawbacks of the Sicilian, that there are quite a few sidelines that you need to look at an awful lot. Whereas sometimes in other openings you sort of hope that you get to your main stuff straight away, and then you go from there, because that's the stuff you really wanted to play. But okay, e5, knight d5. This is all pretty main line. C takes d4. C takes d4. Tiny bit early, maybe. Normally, the White players play knight f3 and just sort of wait a little bit just to before doing this. But there's nothing wrong with this. Okay, and this is quite a common plan. Bishop c4, knight b6. Slightly, maybe not yet necessary. Normally, d6 is played here. There was the Greek player Vasilios Kotronias wrote quite a big book about about Sicilian sidelines, and this was the line he recommended for Black, just playing d6 immediately. You don't really worry about bishop takes d5, because after I take back, I'll undouble my pawns later with d takes c5. So
they sometimes go knight b6, don't they?
Yeah, but it's just a little bit early, this one.
Yeah.
Normally go d6 first, but okay, knight b6. Bishop b3. Bishop d3 could also be considered. Bishop b3. And now d6.
Hi, YM. YM's asking, any advice for getting into Cambridge maths? Well, you got to like maths. That would be my first piece of advice. Lots of maths, really enjoy it, and read around the topic. Yeah, be enthusiastic about it, I guess, is my advice there. If you're a chess player, I'm sure you'll be good at maths as well. That often goes together anyway.
That's very good. Can give advice on all sorts of topics here. Not
we
even
can, anything else you need advice on, it's fine. Any topic.
Oh, careful, Natasha. So bishop e7, castles, knight c3. I mean, actually, White be quite happy here. I mean, you've you haven't played a main line against Sicilian, but you've ended up with a good center and decent attacking chances. So Now, I mean, one typical idea for black here would be to take on e5 and play knight d4. I don't know whether it's good in this particular situation, but just to try and exchange off a set of minor pieces. Black's plan here looked a little bit, which is going to be hard for black to get free. Queen c7. I mean, you're a bit vulnerable to knight b5s as well, even immediately. So,
oh gosh, yes, that looks good.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could just go back and claim maybe nothing too bad has happened, but it's in the air anyway. Knight b5. Bishop c2 is sensible. I mean, looking there, I would have been tempted maybe to play a move like bishop f4, just develop the bishop and threaten knight b5 a bit more. Bishop c2, knight b4, bishop b1, pretty common. We're going to be able to play queen e4, then queen g4, and do some sort of attack.
It'll also be possible to force that knight back again. So yes, just with like a3.
Absolutely. It's that knight isn't a permanent fixture there. So queen e4, g6, bishop h6, rook f8.
So black did spot the mate, threatened on h7, and defended with g6.
Yeah, this is very typical defense. Pretty typical position, this really for both sides. I played these sort of things a reasonable amount with black, often even from a Queen's Gambit accepted, and they're a little bit awkward. But if you get them right with black, then it's a sort of position where White's taking a few concessions, got this advanced e pawn and weak light squares around it. So if you get it right and you're neutral, you've often got stuff that you can exploit. It's one of those positions that can turn from a bit better for white to a bit better for black quite quickly. Quite like those. So a3, bishop c6, queen f4. Yeah, bishop
g5.
Timing bits.
Bishop g5 to swap bishops and weaken the dark squares. That sounds like a good idea.
That's a definite plan. Or haying bits, or knight g5 even. To try and remain with a dark square bishop on the board. That's also a decent idea. Hey, thank you. So knight d5 takes queen g4. I mean black's pretty solid still, and white's made a few little inroads into the king side. You've got your bishop on h6, but this structure is still very solid. You're going to need a few more moves, maybe h4, h5, something like that, before you start causing some problems. And
James Black wanted some advice.
He wants a song.
He wants advice on whether Topic is a nice chocolate bar, and I would say yes. I think they're really nice. I like the hazelnuts and the nougat. I think it's as far as chocolate bars go, it's very good. Although I would recommend also, if you like Topic, the double deckers are also very good.
Double deckers. They were the ones.
They are, yes. I'm a big double decker fan. But Topics, yes, go for it.
I haven't had one for about 30 years, but I loved them as a kid. My goodness, double deckers. Ooh, I have to have a look. I mean, I don't know about you actually, but I do tend to forget things sometimes, like the fact that I'm an adult, and that actually means that I can decide whether I have things or not. Just sort of, because it was always all double deck. You shouldn't have, one special for a treat, but no more. And then that sort of sticks in your mind, and then you sort of take that into your adult life, and then all of a sudden, sometimes you think, hey, wait a minute, I can decide. I can have one if I want. It's
I fear that realization came to me rather earlier, and I've eaten plenty of double deckers as an adult.
Well, it's not just double deckers, but it's they're always things that obviously you grow up with how you're used to go to bed on time. Oh, indeed, that's the problem. Actually, you just end up doing sensible stuff, or even worse, really.
Going to bed on time. You see, I used to like to stay up late, and now it's like a real treat if I can go to bed early. Otherwise, I'm like, yeah, that's fantastic. Hi, Macbeth. How are you doing?
Seems like ages. Yeah. It's been a little while. We've been doing a little bit of commentary, but
we've been doing still the Quarantine League, but sometimes only like part of the session or whatever. So it's been really busy, but we're on a lot this weekend. So we're going to be covering the junior events this morning, and then the championship and some more juniors will flip between the two this afternoon, and then similar tomorrow. So if you've got a quiet weekend, you can see all the action from the British Championships.
Indeed. Yeah. Oh, the quarantine. We managed to stay up, by the way, Natasha.
I know. I saw. Fantastic. So, very good. Very good. So still in Division 3. So that's for any junior players who are watching this back. If you do get a chance to join in, we've got several really good junior players that play regularly, and I even think that Oleg Verbitsky, who's in this game, I even think he does sometimes play in it, but I could be wrong because I don't always remember the names. But we do have every Thursday, every Sunday, there's sort of rapid play chess on one of the major websites, and the ECF runs. I think I can say it, can't I? No, I better not. And so do join for those. For the English chess players, there's links on the ECF.
Yeah,
excellent. Beth, you're playing tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean that's always nice. It's always a good strong team, titled players playing as well. So yeah, and just a nice atmosphere, and not too tough, but also quite enjoyable, I think, as well. It's so let's have a look. Queen G4. Back to the game. Rook C1, Queen B6. So Black actually being quite sensible here, trying to disrupt the white position, basically, and just start hitting stuff and seeing whether you can get a reaction, and then maybe use that for further play. I mean, one interesting idea might have been maybe to go Queen B6 immediately, actually hitting B2. And then if B4, well, maybe you play A5, and already you're making some inroads on the queen side. And, it's one of those things that why do you try and create counterplay? I mean, there's two reasons. I mean, first of all, to try and win stuff, but also the fact that you're creating counterplay forces the opponent to start trying to do something in his area of the board where he's strong. And, he doesn't have all the time in the world to prepare it. He's maybe just got to go with what he's got. That might give you better chances to defend than if you let the opponent build up slowly and and get more preparation involved. So often it's a question of you sort of try and force the opponent to attack you, but before he's ready, completely prepared and ready. That's always the idea. So Queen B6, I think, would have been a good line. This is not bad at all, but it's just that the bishop on B5 is blocking B2, so you're no longer attacking it. But I think Black was looking to play bishop E2, actually, maybe pin the knight and also uncover an attack on B2. So White went knight H4, and White's looking to sack on G6 here. So, I mean, Black
is that sound, sacking on G6? If it were White's go here, would that work?
Probably. I think so. Just take on D6, takes, bishop takes. Good chances anyway. Feels scary. Yeah. So, I mean, Black could have just gone a very typical move here, bishop E8, just to give extra protection to the pawn on G6. I think that would have been a very good move, actually, and then uncovering the attack of the queen on B2. Because this knight on H4, it's not a great attacking square. It only makes sense if you can follow up with knight G6. If you can't follow up with knight G6, then it's just a bit offside. It's got no other places to go to. So I think that bishop E8 here would have been a very good move. But bishop H4 sort of justifies it a little bit. White now hitting on the...
I can see a danger lining up for Black because Black's not got much defense on those dark squares. So if you could dislodge that knight from D5, White might have the idea of queen F6 and then queen into G7, checkmate.
Yeah, I mean, Black's still got reasonable defensive resources here, but I think, taking off that knight in that position, I think was not quite right. I think I don't think you needed to do it. And defense is all about trying to. I mean, this is something that you really see with the great defenders. Capablanca is a very good example. They try and defend with minimal means all the time. Just give away as little as possible. Give away to the opponent as little progress as possible all the time, and try and use as few pieces as possible to defend. And you know, this sort of this sort of position where really, okay, you desperately need your knight there, it can't move, and if the knight can't do anything, you're going to need to get your queen in somewhere, you know, and well, if you're having to use your queen for defense, it can't be used for attack, you know, getting more difficult. So it's so rook c8, bishop e4 played, f5. Wow, that was a bit maybe a little bit panicky there from black.
Just to say what the threat was, what we were just talking about. So the threat is for white to take off that knight on d5 with the bishop, and then put the queen in on f6 and go for mate.
It's not really a threat yet, because after
the pawn takes,
we take with a pawn and cover. So, you know, I mean, I mean, black's problem is really a little bit, you know, what do I sort of do? You know, I mean, that's kind of the problem. But I mean, something, for example, like queen d4 could have been quite interesting here. Just pinning the bishop to the queen, you know, and then and then you're attacking the e5 pawn. You can get rid of the e5 pawn. That might be helpful as well. So I think queen d4 would have been a very interesting move there as well. But it wasn't really a threat either, because bishop d5, e takes d5, and the queen covers. So yeah, I think f5 was maybe a little yeah, just reacting a bit too much to that threat.
Mine. Oh, can I just say one more line?
Yeah.
If takes on d5, pawn take. So we can't show the line, can we? But bishop takes d5, pawn takes. You could try and sort it out around the other way and go like bishop g5 onto that diagonal, so attacking the rook.
Yeah.
Then put your bishop in on f6 and then go queen h6 and try it that way around.
That would be very dangerous. That would be very dangerous indeed. You know, that's but that's you know, that's kind of the problem of having given away the dark squares. White's free to, you know, white's going to be entrenched on either f6 or h6, and white is free to you know, to yeah, organize stuff as white wants. I think, you know, queen d4 would have been the most natural move anyway, if you can get away with it, and just to yeah, just to try and pin the bishop on e4, attack the pawn on e5, and also from d4 you're attacking the pawn on b2, so you might get some counterplay as well. Still quite dangerous and sharp, but I think that would have been fun. F5 is a bit panicky, and actually, I mean, white could just take on f6, which is really strong as well. But white took on d5, which was pretty good. I think takes, e takes d5 forced, got stopped the queen across, but now queen e7.
Okay, yeah, this is.
And
I mean, my goodness, this is scary, isn't it?
Completely off.
The end. It looks like the end.
It's the end there, indeed. Black was diamond, and you know, I mean, it's I mean, again, it's a lovely example of the power of opposite colored bishops as an attacking force, because you know, when you've got opposite colored bishops, you know, you've got you know, your minor piece, the bishop on opposite colored squares, can't actually interfere with the opponent's piece, you know, and so in terms of attacking potential, you've just got a piece that's completely unopposed all over the board, you know, which is obviously going to help for that. And here you can see those weak dark squares just exploited by whites. Yeah, that's right. Hey,
hi, B22 C3 Sicilian.
You must have enjoyed.
Are you playing this afternoon, Paul?
You must have enjoyed this one, this C3.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, very powerful, this. Very powerful. So, well played, white. Hard luck, black. And we're going to see the next one. This looks like an open Sicilian. No, it's a Caracan. My goodness.
Okay, so Bodana Sivandan against Benedict Pitel.
Uni run this weekend.
Playing the seniors on Monday. Okay, well, let's, yes, hopefully we'll be doing something during the week as well. And we'll catch you in the seniors. Good luck with the seniors.
And it says uni run this weekend. Is that a sort of a marathon?
I'm imagining he just means dropping off his kids at uni.
Ah, okay.
It could be a marathon. Who knows? Who knows? Well, oh, marathon. Now there's a good chocolate bar as well.
It's
yeah,
London Marathon this weekend, isn't it? I think so. Tomorrow.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
So that's why we're sort of thinking maybe But I'm taking daughter to Cambridge.
Daughter to
Okay.
Cambridge. Oh gosh. Oh, yeah. Well, maybe I won't have this conversation. But my son's just started there too, so maybe they should meet. I suppose there's lots of people to meet when you're there. Yeah, and it sounds like someone in the other chat is there as well. Everybody's in Cambridge at the moment. Did you know one of the top grandmasters just moved to Cambridge as well?
No, who's that?
I won't say it on. I'll tell you after.
Okay, fair enough. Well. Not me, I hasten to add. So d4, d5, takes. Knight c3. So slightly, well, actually, bishop f4. We've transposed back into a London sister.
I was going to say this looks like a Stanley Badacconi London system.
Indeed. So knight c6, knight b5. Oh yeah, knight c6 is a bit incautious there. This knight c7 check threat is unpleasant to deal with. Queen a5 check c3, e5. Oh, but it's not going very well straight away, is it? Because takes a pawn and then, pardon me, takes another one. So 2 pawns opening, not bad for.
Gosh, and this introduces a lot of threats as well because, well, I don't know. I'm now trying to think of all the threats, but things like e6 looks pretty dangerous, and
yeah, knight d6, b4, lots of stuff really. So a6 was played, knight d6, and white basically just took the ending with 2 extra pawns there. So that's looking pretty good really for white, and the game's still going on. Let's have a look. But white seems to be a piece up now on top of that. So I think that's going to be looking like a white win at the moment. This one, white's a piece and 2 pawns up. Alrighty, then we've got board 4, which finished in a nice mate. Let's see how that game went. So d4, d5. This is Laksh Ladad against Zoe Veselo.
Another London system.
Another London system, very popular, the London system. With c4, very unusual. Normally you play c3, and try and have this triangle of pawns in the center, which makes a very strong center. This is a little bit, it's kind of mixed up really. I think in a normal Queen's Gambit position, you'd play the knight to c3, where it's a little bit more active, attacking the pawn on d5. So knight d2. This is all right for white, but basically black's going to be absolutely fine here. Rook c1, bishop b7, queen c2, and rook c8. So both sides are mobilizing their pieces, and now you've got to think what you're going to do. I mean, the thing you've always got to be careful about is, whenever you see a rook opposite a queen and, a sort of a tense center, got to watch out that nothing nasty is going to happen to your queen. And, well, indeed, this is what happens in the game. White swaps off, then black swaps off, takes, and then this move b5.
Yeah, and the knight is pinned against the queen. So if the knight queen gets,
now, you could actually, you did actually have some way of avoiding material loss here.
The queen b3.
Yeah, queen b3 would have been fine. Attacking the pawn on b5. Yeah, I mean, if you go bishop d5, I go queen.
Making use of a pin in the other way, so the pin of the pawn to the bishop.
That's right, and queen d5 is met by, well, at the very least, knight e3, taking the knight out of attack and covering the g2 square. I'm just wondering whether bishop f3 might be possible as well. Probably is actually, but yeah. So queen b3 would have been possible there even. But I think it's just a general thing. You see a rook opposite a queen, you see a sort of an open center. Really time to think about moving that queen from there. But knight a5 was not a good reaction though, because as well as losing the queen, white lost the knight as well. So rook c7 was played. Well, queen c7, why not? Just swap off stuff and
White's a piece up here.
Black's a piece up here, and it's quite simple. And as we saw, quite a nice mating pattern at the end there with bishop d4.
So well done, Zoe Veselo.
Yeah, and we've got George Xiao against Amy Barr. Oh, that was just one move, it looks like. So
Okay.
that didn't. Okay, this is one that's still ongoing. So let's have a little look at the games there. So e4, e5. Just double deckers always look squashed, says James.
Yes. Oh well, I don't know. They definitely change around the size of them, don't they? They like. I'm sure they're smaller than they used to be.
Or your appetite has got even bigger.
Oh. But actually, I think double deckers, like you occasionally see them in the sort of bite size. I think that's quite good, because then you only just have to have a little bit. Because if you start one, you do have to really eat the whole lot, don't you? You can say
it would be rude not to. It would be rude not to finish. That's so. This was an Italian game, very old-fashioned line. This one. So knight f6, d4, takes, bishop b4. I mean nowadays, yeah. I mean, so there's the venerable Moller attack, which is knight c3, which I think you can say pretty much every grandmaster has looked at this one time, trying to make it work, but it's just been worked out since the 1920s to a draw, and really not very much has changed in that. Knight bd2 was an idea of Johnny Hector, the always creative Swedish grandmaster, and he got quite decent results with it. Bishop d2 is the really old-fashioned line, and yeah, this is well known to basically to equalize for black. There is a draw by repetition, actually, well known. That's used a number of times in top-level chess. Queen b3, knight a5, queen a4, check, knight c6, queen b3. So, but okay, castles, rook e1, knight b6, hitting the bishop on c4, and then queen b3 was played, and now, yeah, knight d4. I mean, you could also consider just going knight a5 and getting the bishop pair. That would also be been quite nice. This seems to win a pawn, but white's got bishop f7. After rook takes f7, we've got rook e8 check. So you go king h8, and then, yeah, this is fairly even, I was going to say. But what happened here, white put himself into a little bit of trouble there, because now the bishop on e8 is attacked. And the queen as well. So queen b5, c6, queen h5, g6. Oh my goodness. Black was just a piece up here.
Yeah. But okay, so now how did this end up as a draw?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So we can have a look. So rook c8 was maybe not that useful. Takes, h3. Sort of, yeah, you could have done it, I suppose, without giving away the b7 pawn.
Still, I mean, good for black, right?
It's very good black. The only problem is that the white king's a little bit open. So the black king, rather, is a little bit open. So, yeah, certainly in blitz, you know, I mean, I could imagine having some some difficulties, you know, sort of achieving this one. But black actually did pretty well, swapping everything off. And now this is looking really promising again for black, you know. So knight g5, bishop f5, g4, bishop e1, knight c4.
White has 2 pawns for the piece, so that's not normally going to be enough.
No, and black's doing a good job here. So king d5, f4. Ah, okay, but now played knight d6. Yeah, okay. I think you could just take the pawn on b2. I mean, I don't think that pawn is going to be unstoppable in any way. You know,
so white would then go f5 and take on h7, I suppose, and try.
Yeah, it's going to take white a long time to you know, really get himself moving. And you've got your c pawn and everything. I mean, that should work. And this should still be winning for black, but you're just being a lot slower here. Oh, and you've got the wrong coloured square for the bishop, really. So got to watch out a little bit now, because those two pawns are quite distracting. Yeah, what's going to happen here? Oh, bishop e4 did manage.
This should be fine, shouldn't it?
Well, I mean, we should play b4 now and then b5, which is just a draw.
Okay.
But white went king d6, a4. Oh, good lord. Oh, okay. So 6, okay. And well, I suppose, if black wants to try anything, then you should sort of play king e5 and king d4. You don't lose anything by trying that. But black didn't want to give up any of his pawns, so agreed a draw there. So
what do you think of this final position? Is it drawn?
I'm wondering. I wouldn't have thought so, to be honest, but I would have thought that that black would be able to
somehow win this. Yeah,
I would have thought so. But the general, the general thing around here certainly was drawn, because you could just play b4 to b5 and just swap off the b pawn to the c pawn, and then afterwards
b4, black goes a6.
Yeah, I go a4.
A4. Yeah.
That should be you should be able to swap off your pawns for the queenside pawns, and then yeah, I mean bishop and a pawn is not going to win because it's the wrong colours corner square for the bishop.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's okie dokie. That ended up in a draw in any case. We've got oh good lord, Dildarav Lishoy Genghis Paratsam against Nuve Konara.
Okay.
Let's have a look at that opening. So knight f3, knight c6. Both players like moving their knights at the start. c3, e5, e4. By a very strange move order, we've got a Ponziani. Don't see that one very much nowadays. Gawain Jones actually played the Ponziani number of times. Got a few good wins with it actually, but principle shouldn't be that much for white.
So white's going to develop with bishop c4, I would think.
Well, no, bishop c5.
But no.
Yeah, now this is a perfect Ponziani for white. So, oh, good lord, black played really riskily here. I mean, knight c3 would be a very sensible move here, but white played bishop d3 and black went queen b4. My goodness me.
So picking up likely picking up a pawn, but white's got much better development here.
Indeed. So queen b2 played. Yeah, queen c1. I would have really tried to keep the queens on, to be honest, in this sort of position. Even if I had to give up castling, go knight d5, bishop a5, king f1, even that seems quite promising, really. Queen c1, you've got compensation for the pawn, but it's obviously going to be a lot less than if you've got the queens on. So knight e7, castles d6, bishop b5, bishop d7. I mean, white's struggling to try and get some compensation. But knight a4, not bad, hitting that bishop on b6. And
just thinking for the juniors watching back, why is it so obvious that the compensation's better with the queens still on?
Well, at the moment, the in this position, the black king is uncastled. So and also, the pawn f6 has been moved, which is already a weakening on the light squares on the king side. And if black castles queen side, then taking the b pawn means that the b file is open towards the king. So essentially, with black, there's not really a great spot for the king.
Yeah, and I guess the queen can be hit too. Like the queen's a bit exposed when all the pieces are on, and the black queen is a bit exposed, I'd say, right now.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's just you've got the weakness of the king and tempi against the queen, basically. That's what you've got. And if you swap off the queens, then you kind of lose both of those. And then all that remains for your compensation is a slightly different development and a nice pawn center. you know, but that's a lot less scary for black to deal with
for sure.
than with the queen's on. So knight a4 and now f5, and this is quite risky, you know. I think, you know, black really should have been looking to keep this bishop, and certainly not allow the pawns to be doubled up. But f5 was met by knight g5, and suddenly getting very sharp. The knight's coming into
threatening a fork on f7.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be. Does that work tactically? Actually, I think it does. I would be tempted to play bishop takes d4 here, you know, and give up this exchange on here, because there's plenty of tactical tricks against this loose knight on a4 now. You know, I think it's conceivable that white should really have taken on b6 first before playing knight g5. I think that would have been very strong. But after rook f8, white corrects that mistake, plays knight f7, and well, you're just winning little now, because after rook e8 has happened in the game, knight d6 check is a very unpleasant fork. And then bishop f4 takes, and white is just the exchange up here. So, yeah, very big position there. And the game concluded like this: rook c8 to b5. And it looks like black resigned there, which is fair enough. I mean, we can give a little bishop check, go bishop takes b5, and then start pushing the f pawn. You know, I mean, that's really going to be terrible for black. We can go and see Theo Litvin against George Chen. This is looking like a draw now. Just have a look at what the opening was. e4 c5. This offering white opportunity. Yeah, they're pretty good. It's true, Macbeth. They are pretty good. The games are looking pretty decent.
Oh yeah, really good. Yeah,
I didn't play like that when I was 8.
Yeah, because some of these are like 7 years old, 6 years old, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point. It's I think you know, these people. Maybe I played like this when I was actually 8, but a lot of these are a lot younger. So very good, very impressive. So c4 is a Maroczy bind, but white plays a little bit more cautiously there. This is quite nice, actually. You know, I mean, for black, you get an extra pawn towards the center, open b file. Just in generally, that's always a nice exchange for black to have. With white, you'd normally try and avoid that, unless you've got a specific, you know, refutation of something or other. So bishop f4, knight f6, knight c3. Oh, actually, bishop f4, we could have taken on b2 here, actually.
Oh, yes.
It would have been a little bit... I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I don't know after knight d2 whether you really want to carry on and take the rook, because you'd have some very weak dark squares there. But
b22, b22 c3 Sicilian. I was just thinking along the same lines, because these games are meant to be appearing, I think, on chess.com and on Chessbomb, but I don't think they're there yet. So I'm going to put, we've got links to the under 8s and the under 10s. I think those are the ones on the live board. So I'm going to just share that in the chat in a second.
So, okay, bishop f4, knight f6, knight c3, short castles, and knight h5. So, knight f6, queen e2, b5. That's good. That's finally got this break in. Bishop e3. I guess d4. We've got rook d1. That's probably good. So, rook e8, rook ad1, e6. Yeah, I mean, it's not much, but in principle, black's happy. I mean, you've got this this nice pawn center, and I mean, the key thing is that it's these pawns on d5, e6, f7 are sort of blocking out the bishop on b3. You know, so that's quite a nice positional achievement there. Queen f3, knight d7. Ooh, that feels a bit risky. I mean, it's just yeah. I would really just naturally play my bishop to b7 before doing that. It's just that it just does feel very, very, very risky. This one, there's something with knight takes d5 and a fork. Maybe it's nothing special. Maybe it's all right still for for black, but it's yeah, a very, very risky way to play this. I mean, you could go knight d5, ed, bishop d5, and if knight e5, bishop takes f7 check, for example, knight f7 and queen a8, and you've got 3 pawns and a rook for 2 pieces, which doesn't feel too bad to me. So yeah, I think knight d7, yeah, got to have a bit of a, yeah, a bit of a sense there that yeah, you just need to develop your pieces. There's loose pieces around really, and loose spots there. So but okay, when white doesn't take that chance, then black's back in business. Yeah, and this ending is very pleasant for black again. You know, and it's all to do with these pawns, d5, e6, f7, and the bishop on b3 that's passive. So
it's this Carlsbad pawn structure again.
Well, not really. But I mean, now I would be looking to play the rooks to b8 and c8. Maybe do something with this bishop on a6. Maybe redeploy it to something like d7. Try and get an a5, a4. You know, because the b2 pawn's weak and this bishop's a target. Rook d8's a little bit. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a shame, really, isn't it? To have ended up exchanging off your knight for that bishop. I think that's not the right piece, really. I mean, the knight on a4 is a bit offside, so black can play on that, but still, I wouldn't have done that. So bishop b5, that's a good move. Stopping white, because I mean, white was intending to play b4 and knight c5, you know, and then white would just be a little bit better, probably. So bishop b5, you're keeping the knight under wraps there. Rook d4, a6, g3, rook c6. Oh, rook d5. That that's a little bit painful for black, because obviously he takes d5. There's rook e8. I mean, there is a rook takes c3, but I could take with a knight. Bishop takes, and knight takes d5, which would be well, an extra pawn. I'm not sure that it would be. It's an extra double pawn. That would probably be quite even, actually. And there's even conceivably e takes d5, rook e8, and then d4, with the idea of c takes d4, rook c1 check. That would probably be an even cleaner equalizer there. But okay, bishop a4, so white is a pawn up. Not easy, though, because black's sort of able to really well, put a lot of pressure against the b2 pawn. King f6, I mean, even conceivably, I'm not quite sure. You could go rook c6 and still threaten, again, this rook c4 idea. I'm not quite sure how white deals with that. But king f6, he's jumped again there. King e7, f6. Okay. Could have gone back earlier, I think, to b6, just to pressure this pawn. I think it would have been very difficult for white to avoid the draw. Rook d8, rook b2. Ooh, sharp little tactic there. Under 10s is have a link.
I just posted that in the chat, actually. It's just I'll post it again. Wait a minute. Yeah, there's the under 10s. We're going to be covering the under 10s in just a moment. Yeah.
So rook b2, rook c3 check, king d8, and black has picked up a pawn. Well, white picks up a pawn again. Yeah, this ending is essentially drawn.
Just to say, and the septic, it won't. I don't think it won't be absolutely all the boards from the section, just because they've only got a certain number of live boards. But I think it's covering the majority of the games.
Yeah. So this is about drawn. I mean, black's got 4 pawns on the king side, and yeah, white's got a passed a pawn, but. The only way that one is really going to queen is if the white king goes over to support it, and with all the oh, okay.
Okay, we'll look at your one. We can go. I think we're going there under 10s very soon.
Yeah, we're going. Yeah. So this is essentially drawn, and well, I don't know. They're still playing.
Agreed, Macbeth. They are really talented. They got just showing their rook and pawn ending technique here.
So okay, so what I'll do, I will go on to the under 10s. Now let me see. What are we actually sharing at the moment?
It's looking at under 10s, Cameron Gross against Daniel Pitts.
Okay, brilliant. So let's
let's see if we can see
yay,
Arsenal's game.
I'm sorry, we were showing you a game where you lost, I'm afraid, Arsenal, but well, let's have a little look. So this is Kai Hanash against Arseny Gushin. So we've got an Italian game, bishop c5. Might play something a little bit funny, bishop g5, h6, bishop e3. Normally you think that h6 in general is a move that the black wants to play because yeah, stops the pin on g5. You can use it a little bit later sometimes for the move g4 to g5, but it would be yeah, hyper subtle really to try and extract it this early. Bishop e6, knight c3, e6, all very good and normal. H3. And here I think black decided to play very, very aggressively and really try and exploit that extra tempo that he'd been given with h6. So played g5 here. Queen d2, knight h5. That's really risky. That's well, no, it's interesting, but it's definitely a bit risky there. Maybe you know in sort of hindsight you could have just developed with bishop e6. Or even with something like knight e7 to g6, that's often quite sensible as well.
So the risk, even I guess, is because you're advancing a lot on the king side before you've really got somewhere safe to put your own king.
Yeah, and of course the white king is not committed to the king side yet. So any you might make some stains on here, but then white's king can go to the queen side. So I think this sort of thing with g5 and knight h5 would be better played once white's castled already. Until white's castled, I think you should probably hold back on that. You know, I think that's the general idea. So d4 was played, knight f4, bishop takes f4, and now e takes f4 and castle. And yeah, I mean the big problem for black here is that. Well, the king can't go queen side, king side rather. The king would have to go queen side, but how would you get this queen developed? Because as soon as you go queen f6, for example, you get hit by 5 and e5. So, and you know, just having this knight coming into d5, it's a bit tough. Well, what happens? The other thing that happens on there is after bishop d7, white plays h4, and yeah, the advances that you made on the king side suddenly come back to haunt you a little bit. And for example, if we played g4, I'd have queen f4 hitting the f7 pawn.
I was going to say g4 looks like it might be okay, but no, you've just said queen f4.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah. Yeah, I'm wondering whether you could do it and then because you'd be attacking the pawn on d4 later, but I mean, it looks incredibly risky. There's going to be piece sacrifices coming in at some stage if you just try and survive like that. So f6, h takes, and g3. White doing a pretty good job there, really, of playing quite aggressively, simply, just to trying to keep on just undermining the and opening the position. And I don't know whether maybe the best would have been just to try and somehow just jettison a pawn and just get your king castled. That would probably be the best idea that you could hope for. So black here was sort of fighting fire with fire, really. But it's sort of a bit tricky because your king gets caught in the center there. And yeah, this is definitely quite difficult now. We're just going to go. We got all sorts of moves like knight d5, fg, that sort of stuff, and tricky to hold it all together. So black tried his best, but f4 was hard to meet because knight takes f4. We've just got rook f1 there.
Hi, Mark.
So queen g3, queen b5, king b1, rook f1, rook f7. Oh, and queen takes e5 there. And yeah, can't be taken because of the pin on the d6 pawn. So hard luck, Arseny, but sure your next game will go much better. That was, I think White played.
Well, I think White played it really well, and actually, the stuff you did on the king side, it's like it's normal stuff to do. It's just if you want to do that stuff, get your king safe first, and make sure you're aiming at White's king, and then it's all good stuff. And then I think it just got difficult really quickly.
Yeah, no, I think White played it very well as well. It was a good quality game, that was. So yeah, but lots of luck for your next game, Arseny. And
yes, good luck.
We will keep an eye out for you. Thanks, and thanks very much for being on the channel as well. We like that an awful lot. So let's have a look at the top board game. Cameron Gross against, or Grosser, I think, against Daniel Pitts. So what have we got? Oh, we've got a French exchange.
Oh, exciting.
That's the first time those two words, those three words have been said in the same sentence, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's a useful thing to play as White. It avoids needing to know that much theory at all. And you can play the exchange in quite an aggressive way. This is quite a quiet way of playing it. So bishop e7, queen e7, or bishop e2. That's a very yeah. I guess that White was a bit worried that after castles you go knight d2, and if queen d2, bishop takes f3. So I mean, Black's bishop f3, was that necessary? Maybe not. But Black, in principle, Black just equalised with no problems here at all. So how is this going to go on then? So bishop b5, rook d8, quite sensible development from both sides. Bishop takes c6, slightly surprising maybe. I would have tried to keep my bishop. That's the only thing I had that sort of differentiated my position from Black's really. So, but getting in a bit of
knight e5 is quite nice, so isn't it?
Yeah. So c5. Whoa, Black playing very aggressively now. I mean, he could just have taken that knight or that queen on f3, and the position would have been equal. But Black playing here.
Okay, so Black's. I wonder whether Black's got dreams of an attack.
I don't know. It's pardon me. It's a bit. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I'm saying I don't think there's an attack there really, but that might be the idea.
I mean, I think Black was gaining time and then hoping to carry on with his stuff. But I think you've always got to be a little bit careful with these with making concessions like this in the end game, because the end game is that phase of the game where you don't always realize straight away, or it's not always immediately obvious that the opponent can exploit it. But then later along the way, you're really going to regret having your pawns like that.
I've just thought of the other thing Black might have been thinking is. If you recapture with the knight, White can take on c5, and so because the knight's defended.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in this position after knight f6 DC, that causes Black some difficulties. But yeah, I mean, it's more when you go c5, you're sort of taking the decision, I guess, to take back with the pawn on f6. But that's a little bit risky, really. Laughing at Matt's joke. My goodness. Well, Macbeth, you are one of the first. Thank you so much. It's getting a laugh already, and I haven't even started singing yet. So that'll be for the mid-afternoon session, I think. So just warning Natasha so she can enjoy that. So rook d1, and now a5. I mean, b5 normally feels like the most natural way to start up this attack. b5, a5, b4, just to try and get some counterplay. a5, a4 is probably a good move, I think. Just irritating Black, but Black plays rook b8. I mean, Black's got some decent counterplay here. It's just it's a shame about those kingside pawns.
Yeah, I would do the same plan for White and hop in onto f5.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be now rook eb8 was maybe possible here. Rook EB8 looks quite strong, actually.
Yeah,
I
you
can go
can't
F3.
defend with rook b1 because there's a knight c3.
You'll probably go F3, and then when the knight moves away, you'll go rook d2. That's probably fine. But I think it's one. Yeah. But I think when your knight's forced back to d6, the white's knight can't get into f5. So that would maybe be quite nice. But okay, f5, f3, h4. Ooh, knight h6. Wow. I would have been very tempted with just rook d2 here, just keeping what I've got, and then just looking at getting the h pawn later. So this is quite unclear, really. I mean, better pawns for white. Very nice square on f5. Black king a little restricted, but a big a pawn, and also a very nice target to aim for. So a2. Yeah, I would have been tempted to start with rook b3, and then after rook c2 to play a4. That would have been my nice starting point. But okay. Knight c7. You're just a little bit too slow here. Knight e3. E7. Very interesting ending this one. So black protects the d5 pawn so that the knight can get free. h6. Ooh, h6. That can be okay. We'll see. Knight c2. Oh, I was expecting knight d1 to try and cover, but knight c2 counterattacking against a3 pawn.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So this is quite complicated, isn't it? So if white takes on c3, white takes on a3, but then this h pawn's fast.
Yeah, the h pawn is pardon me, quite fast. So this is a hilarious moment now.
Can we take on a3?
Yeah, I mean, in actual fact, we should just take on a3. I mean, that should be the thing that we do. But white played h8 equals bishop check. Which was quite nice, but it's just it's kind of wasting a tempo now, because after rook h8, knight a3, black played the annoying rook a8,
which
pinning
pins.
Right.
So gosh, so is white losing now?
White is losing now. Yeah, knight b5, rook
just
a2.
go back 2 moves. If white did not go there, if white went instead.
Yeah, if you go knight a3, you're fine here. Yeah.
Is that okay? So wait, knight a3, king g7.
Oh, king g7, that's what you're going to do. Then it's not so clear.
That's still the same, isn't it?
It's still the same. Well, you're a little bit faster, but yeah, no, it's still the same, of course. Oh, that's a bit unfortunate then.
Well, you don't need to take that pawn on a3 at all, really, do you? You could just can you? Oh, I don't know. So how is this? Now I'm not sure.
You could go knight e3. That would be a better move, I think.
Yeah. So knight e3, because if knight c3, you can then go rook a3.
Yeah, you're actually winning.
Rook takes, you queen your pawn.
Yeah, you're actually winning there, because you're also attacking the knight on c3. So after knight e3, and you're threatening to take on d5, which also protects the pawn on c3. So I think knight e3.
Yeah, we got there. We got there in the end. If you take on a3, then there is just king g7.
Yeah, but I think knight e3 in this position would have been the best move.
And then what do you think of?
I don't know, actually. I'm not quite sure.
I sort of feel like I like white because of the h pawn, but
yeah. I mean, this pawn on a3 though is going to be a bit hard to shake. So yeah. I mean, I think after knight e3, probably you should go back. You should go king g6 and take the pawn off, and then your rook and knight become free, and you're still attacking this pawn on c3. But I probably white should be managed to get somehow some sort of draw, I think. But I think black is definitely pressing. But yeah, so this is an interesting little thing here. F4 check, a1 threatening mate. Oh, rook c1. a5 would have defended everything there. Rook c1. Okay. Oh, so well, white's done a sterling job of defending himself.
Gosh, this is reminding me of one of Akshaya's games in the online Olympiad, and she was like, worse all game, but then she got this knight and pawns against rook and pawns, and she just won it, smoothly won it.
Yeah, this is it's going to be a yeah. Black's. I mean, I think this should be a win, of course, but Black's got to exert some some skill and care here to get past it, because it's not completely trivial. Just trying to think how we could best do this. I mean, probably playing the rook to c2 is quite a good idea, I would have thought.
Hi, Max.
Attacks the pawn on c3 and the knight on e2. Then we're going to have to somehow come around with the king, which is going to be well, it's going to take a little bit of effort there, really. I mean, are you going to come around with your king round to b3 or something? Maybe, but this is quite. This is not
easy, is it? This ending.
And it really should have been a lot. It should have been a lot easier than this.
So, do you think it should be a black win though at this stage?
I think so. Yeah. I still think so.
Yeah.
But quite a difficult one. I mean, I think I think always the key thing with this is if you've got a good ending, don't needlessly give pawns away. And rook a5 would have been a very simple way of playing here, defending everything, and then we just bring the king round, and well, if white doesn't watch out, then the knight's getting trapped, and then once the knight's away, then I attack the c3 pawn, and it's trivial. So I mean, very important not to give pawns away needlessly, because you always end up needing those pawns in the end. It's yeah, it's going to be quite a close one. So going to be going on for a little while. We've got. Second board was a nice mating finish.
Alana Ashton. Is that the daughter of Adam Ashton?
Could be.
Could be.
Not
sure. Might be making.
I don't know that for sure.
It's guesswork.
He did have two little daughters, but they were.
Yes. When did they were very keen on chess. That's why I'm thinking it. Yeah.
When did I play Adam? Because I remember I played him in the 4 NCL. Yeah, I don't know when it was, 2016 maybe even then. But his daughters seemed quite tiny there. They looked absolutely lovely. He was there with his wife, but you sort of thought, poor guy, really. I mean, I'm just turning up and I've done all my prep, and I'm a single guy, so I mean, just no family commitments or anyone to look after. And there he was in the morning, just sort of doing everything with his children and breakfast and all of that. And then I ground him down in about 80 moves.
You tell me about it, because I used to play, but my team was like whenever they were short of a woman player, and I was pregnant with twins and had a 1-year-old, and I was trying to turn up at these 4 NCL and play these games, and also when the twins were tiny, and I'd play all the way through. But and sometimes I could only play 1 day in the weekend rather than 2 in these circumstances. And my team were like, "Whoa, what are you thinking about? Why can't you play both games?" I'm like, "What? Oh God, you don't know." You don't know.
Yeah, no, it was funny. I mean, they looked like a lovely family, and all that, and but it was really there's quite a contrast between the time and headspace that he had for the game and the time that I had. It was.
Gawain's managing well, isn't he?
Gawain's doing very well, yeah, and it can't be. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I just remember as a professional that I was very. I mean, you just get into, you have your routine and your stuff that you that you like to do before games, and it's not like something terrible that you can't cope if it changes, but you get used to stuff, and you try and obviously it's very important to try and be stable and play a good level every single game, not have any disasters, because that's where your elo disappears. And I mean, having a child and all that, I mean, it must completely change everything that you do, and
yes, you can't have some of these luxuries about your one fixed routine for every day and that sort of thing. You don't quite because they're like books and books about how to get your baby into a routine, and I tried that for about 2 days, and it's like you make the baby go to sleep, and if it cries, you don't you don't react. But I couldn't do that. I couldn't do it. And also, it had like, it set out this timetable for you for the whole day, right? So it'd say at 6 o'clock, you feed the baby. And then at 6:15, you do this and that. And like, the first day I did it, and I was already like an hour behind the timetable by about 7 a.m. And I was like, I can't keep up with this routine. I tried it for about 2 days, and then I got a bit depressed with the whole thing and thought, no, I'll stick with my own routine. I'll make my routine up as I go along, and we'll muddle through. And that seemed to work for me.
Yeah.
Some people do get it working, and they'll say the baby's going to bed at 8. It's going to get up at 6 a.m. and I'm going to get a good night's sleep. And the ones that can do that, they're definitely they've had their sleep and feeling happy with things. But it's just I couldn't do that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, what I've noticed, funnily in a work context, is that it's actually very useful to have colleagues with children, with young children, babies, in actual fact, because we had a problem where basically somebody had to get up in the middle of the night in order to to check that things were going fine, because there was a problem that was occurring in the middle of the night. And well, I was doing it. That's the sort of thing that I do. But then my colleague said, well, look, I've got a baby, and a new baby, and my baby's always waking up at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So that's the perfect opportunity for me then to
log into the night shift. Yeah.
And also, we sort of made his baby an honorary member of our team, and she's been that's solving masses of complaints in the morning just because our guy can get up at 4:30 in the morning together with his baby. So very
useful. Morgan's played both of these players in Northumbria Masters. Okay, I guess that's Alana and Aditya, and very strong for such a young age.
Oh, and look. You can tell.
Yay! My favorite. More Gambit.
More Gambit.
Excellent.
So,
but Black's declined.
Well, no, Black sort of half declined. So,
declines a bit later. Accepts it a bit later. Okay, let's see it.
Yeah.
Let's see it.
So this is, in principle, E5's a bit of a dodgy reaction, really, because the key thing about the Moro is that bishop comes round to C4, and is attacking that diagonal. So you don't want your pawn on E5, really. You don't want to do it just by itself. Sometimes it gets forced there later, but really you want the pawn to be on E6, blocking out that diagonal. So E5 is a really risky line. I played the Moro a lot when I was a junior, and whenever I saw the move E5 happening, I was always very, very happy, I have to say. So bishop C4.
Very nice.
Bishop E7 and Queen B7. I think I've actually had this game literally as a junior myself. I have literally had this game as a junior. So
not really
very hard.
That, can you?
Very hard to defend.
It's not even possible to avoid losing something here for Black.
That's right. So takes. Knight F6 is maybe a little bit incautious because Knight G5 comes in. And we've got Queen F7 check, or Knight F7, which is a huge threat here. So really, Black's had all sorts of problems just from the opening, I think, and hasn't really got out of the opening alive. The Mora scoring yet another victory. So Queen F7, Queen C4. That's a very nice little move from White, just giving the check and then getting in Knight F7, threatening Knight F7. B5 played from Black, obviously desperation, just trying to
it's actually, when you think about it, it's another one of these games. We were talking about Arseni's game earlier, but it's another one where Black plays something you can't really do in the opening, but it doesn't look crazy what Black did.
Yeah.
Then it gets very, very difficult very quickly. So it's one of those things that actually the next time you do it, you'll not play that move again and you'll get into the game. And
Yeah, I think the important lesson that you learn here as Black is, let's work out, first of all, just concretely, let's work out something decent against the Mora, something...
what I would say is if you're going to take it, if you're taking on the Mora, you might as well do it straight away and just take it. The main thing is just to take it.
Yeah, and I think the other positional thing just to think about is playing e5 like this when the bishop is coming to c4, reasonably high risk there. So yeah, that's right. You need to make those mistakes so that you don't make them again. That's how everyone has learned. Yeah, Paul, and absolutely right. So
So although it looks really bad really soon, it's Black's played basically sensible moves. It's just it got put really early in the opening.
Exactly. So knight here, d6, and yeah, I mean White played this very nicely. Finished it off very nicely here. Knight takes a8, castles, and yeah, this is always going to be very difficult. Black got a couple of pieces for the two rooks, but it's not going to be enough there. And the quite nice finish.
Well played by Alana.
d6, d1, and then a nice little mate there with knight d5.
Checkmate with the knight. Very nice.
Indeed.
Yeah, nice thing there from Alana Ashton. Nice Flora gambit.
And now we've got Rukaya Rida against Rokyu.
Yeah.
So we've got. Is this an Natasha?
Alekines. Yes, everyone's playing my. Maybe this means I just learnt my openings as a junior and then never really updated them too much. Yeah, so, Alekines is another of my favourites.
We've got an Alekines there. So knight f3. Slightly unusual system this from White, but
yeah, I mean they often do in this position. Actually, they often do f4 rather than knight f3, and you get this 4 pawns attack.
Yeah, that's very dangerous for Black. E takes d6 is also surprisingly irritating for Black as well.
Yeah, I'd say that's the more positional line. So it depends whether you like. So if you say you got to this position, if you like an attacking line for White, you might go f4. And a much more positional, you can take on d6, and there's sort of various different lines it can go into, but it's a bit more of a positional maneuvering game.
Yeah, exactly. But this is not bad at all. This one, I think I've looked at this actually with White, and I think it even comes from an Alekin game. This one, so slightly unusual to combine c4 and knight f3, but certainly not bad. And and what White does is very nice actually. I think just really entrenches the pieces just in the center there, and yeah, very good solid play. This excellent. The Alekin gives you space, so White is grabbing it, and yeah, just a nice advantage for White from the opening. I mean, what can you say? It's so knight takes c5, f takes c5. D takes c5 also possible in these positions, just opening up the line of the bishop. That is also quite strong. But f takes c5 is fine. You just have to watch out sometimes for a disruptive c5. I'm not 100% sure in this position. Probably you could just take it, and after knight d7 you play e6, and well, from that transaction you've got far the better pawn structure than Black. But yeah, bishop e6, b3. Queen d7, queen d2, rook d8, rook d1, queen c7, queen e1. I mean, White's playing very sensibly. Black too, by the way. But White's starting from a quite a nice position basically. So bishop c8, knight e4. I have to say, White's play is very smooth here. And I think this has been a very good game. And I think Black simply probably needs to go back a bit onto the drawing board for the opening, and try and work out a better way of beating this system, because I think yeah, it's just one of those things really. You get a bad position and it's hard to work out what to do after. So f6. This is well spotted from White, spotting that the queen is in fact very short of squares. Well, very short of squares is the understatement of the year. There are no squares. And, so Black plays the move g5. White plays very sensibly again, taking a knight c5. And well, I mean, you look at this whole structure here. I mean, just impossible for the Black pieces to get at the White position at all. So maybe f5 would have been
f5. You should maybe try to look at that.
Yeah, f5 would have been
the way
that needed to be done there.
Because actually, how does white? Oh, white has to play d5, I suppose.
I think white has to play d5 there. I mean, it's still.
But then actually, this bishop's back out and rehabilitated. Let's say.
Yeah, I mean, at least the bishop's working at least. You know,
you can take. Can't you take d5 anyway?
Yeah, I can, but I can take f5 afterwards. So after you go f5, I go d5. Yeah. Takes. Yeah. I can just take back and then take on f5 afterwards. So I think you've still got quite big problems there, you know. But that would have probably been the easiest. This was very nice again from white. Bishop f7, knight e4, d5. Yeah, excellent. It's the problem is that if black captures on d5, then the centre's getting opened, and yeah, I mean, this is obviously going to favour white. We've got with two rooks, you know, to black's one.
I think I would still do that though. Yeah.
Takes was played indeed. Rook d1. The knight can't move because rook d8 is checkmate, and after bishop b7, knight c3, black resigned because knight takes c3 allows rook d8 mate.
So well played.
Yeah, actually a very nice game from white. I think. Was very impressed with the opening play. Very good to grab space like that, you know, and you know, you start off aggressive and keep on going aggressive, and well, you just notice that leads to a position that's, you know, very rich in attacking chances like this one, and yeah, white played very well. Hard like black, but yeah, I think it came across a player in good form there. So it's now Emil Steiner's we've seen before.
He played in the online British.
Indeed, yeah. That's right. Yeah, and very young player, in fact. So
I think probably Harry Bryant. Sorry, it sounds familiar. I can't remember whether he played in the online British. Well, maybe
it does sound familiar. True. So we've got a Makoganov. A Makoganov, a King's Indian. So
favorite of DeepMind CEO Demis Hassabis.
Indeed. So knight bd7, bishop g5, h6, bishop e3. So this is all very typical from white. Knight b6 is a strange move. These knights normally go to c5, you know, almost by default, really. So knight b6 an interesting move. I would have been tempted just to go rook g1, to be honest, or queen d2, just to hit this pawn on h6, which is now which is exposed before black plays f5. But white played knight d2, which is quite again quite sensible. Take, and knight d4, and then queen h4. So yeah, somehow I think if you'd included rook g1 or queen d2 and got this black king on h7, you'd have a lot more possibilities here. Here, black's actually got reasonably active, and also this knight on b6, which is a bit funny, is actually doing a sterling job, you know, attacking the pawn on c4. So yeah, just
if white defends with, I'm just trying to think this. If white defends with bishop d3. The white can.
We could consider knight takes c4
on
there.
c4, hitting the bishop, and if the bishop recaptures, then we could take on e4.
Yeah, and knight e4, queen e4 would hit c4 and h1. So yeah, no, I mean, quite a very interesting play. I mean, white tries to sort of hold the 4 square but loses it, and then black gets in rook f8, and this is a, you know, like a dream King's Gambit, King's Indian, really. You know, it's so castles, bishop g6, rook e1. Now rook f2 is getting to be a very tempting sacrifice because bishop f2, rook f2 actually looks winning, I think, because we've got rook c2 check coming in as well. So I think that would probably have been very strong. So the black sort of played bishop h5, bishop g6, and never silly at all. All the chess engines do it. They always repeat if they can from a position of strength, just waiting to see, you know, will my opponent deviate and give me an easier opportunity? And well, this works here. Queen b2, knight takes e4. So black just gets to win a pawn for nothing there. Rook d1, king h7, rook d1, b5. Again, this is a very impressive play. You know, I mean, it's just you know, real sense of purpose in the play, and I have to say that's very impressive for young players, because I think what you see with slightly weaker young players is that you don't really see any purpose in the play. It's sort of like random moves, and then occasionally something fits together, but not. But this, this sort of position, it's a very clean cut, very clear way of playing, and a clear purpose behind everything. And obviously, that you can make criticism sometime about specifics and all that, but that's not important because you get better and better at calculating everything as you get younger. But to really show, purpose in your play and show that, and it's very clear what idea you've got in the position. I mean, that is excellent. So very impressed with how all these young players have been playing. A3, Queen H4, Queen E2, and now B4. This was Black's plan, just to open up the queen.
Yeah, that's nice as well, isn't it?
Yeah, Queen B2 and E4.
Because that knight is a bit loose.
Now pinned, and King D2, Rook takes F2. Yeah, classic stuff. Rook takes B2, check. Queen A5. Mate in 1 spotted straight away. Excellent. So, yeah, well, very well played, Harry Bryant. That was a very impressive game. And hard luck, Emils. Yeah, I'm sure that there'll be more stuff to points to win in other games there. But I think just sometimes you come across a player who's in great form and plays a great game, and I think that was definitely one of those cases. Now we've got Jan Murawski, that's Jan Moore, isn't it? We've seen a lot in the British
online a lot, yes.
Yeah. So what have I got? Why is this all in blue?
You've highlighted it.
I don't know. I can't unhighlight it now somehow.
Okay.
No, wherever I click, no. Never mind. Oh, there we are. Who knows how that happened? So a London system from Jan Moore. You see the clock? Yes, I saw that actually. In that previous game, White took a lot of time, but Black played very fast there. So also very impressive. C6, E3. Bishop F5, C4, Queen B6. Oh, yeah. So this is something quite typical that can happen from the London system. So obviously, I mean, one of the drawbacks to playing Bishop F4 is that the pawn on B2 is unprotected. So Black often plays Queen B6, and White often meets it with Queen B3. And these endings where either White takes on B6 and Black gets double B pawns, or Black takes on B3 and White gets double B pawns. These are quite typical in the London system. It can be quite dangerous for Black because what you see here, and well, it's actually happening. White's just going to use this B pawn that's now undoubled, to play B5, and there's a lot of pressure on the queen side. So knight F6, knight D2 played, and B5. Knight E4 takes F3. Yeah, I mean, in principle, this is very, very dangerous for Black here. And I don't know. I mean, I understand what White did. So I think White was worried that if B takes C6, Black might be able to play King C6.
Okay.
Not 100% sure about that, but that's possible. So what he did was play Rook A5, Bishop E7, B takes C6, because after King C6, White has
Bishop to B5 checkmate.
Indeed. But there's a slight drawback to it.
You don't take with the king.
No, and after here, Black gets this move, Bishop D8 in. Rook A2, Bishop C7. So somehow manages to neutralize a little bit the bishop. But White is in time to play Bishop B7 and Rook A7. So White has won a pawn. And actually, there's quite a big threat here. Well, you've probably got to watch out that you can castle, but Bishop A8 check, and then taking on C6 is going to be a bit of a problem here. So I'm not really sure what Black should do here, to be honest.
This is very good for White.
This looks like winning for White, I think, indeed. The Bishop A8, there we are. That was played, and Bishop C6. We got a second pawn. Yeah, and this is going to be a very smooth performance from White here. King F8, Rook A7, Bishop A6, and C6. In we come. C pawn, a go-go. Rook D8. a8, rook takes f8, and black resigned. Very nice game from white again. And again, hard luck for black. I think you just came across a player who, who played his system very, very well. And I think probably for black, I mean, what you normally try and do is, did black have time for that? Yeah, normally he'd play a6, and after b4, you'd play the rook out, just get out of any possibility of white playing b5. Now, I mean, the annoying thing is that white then plays knight d2 to b3 to a5 and attacks this pawn. I think in general, this sort of thing should, unless you've got a concrete way to meet it, you can play b6 at some stage or whatever. You should really avoid this type of structure because I think they're just very awkward for black. Many very typical white wins with this sort of thing, really. So yeah, again, I think it's one of the things you've had it in a game with black. Time to look at it maybe with your coach and work out what went wrong. Learn that typical thing for yourself, and then maybe sort of work out a different system there. Because again, in the Blitz and Bullet, I've won countless games like this with white. So. It's just a very simple thematic way of playing. Let's have a look. Zhu, Peng Xiao Zhu. I think, is that how you pronounce it?
That looks right.
And Xiao Quan Shi. One of these days we are going to have a lesson on how to pronounce names like that, because I would really like to pronounce everyone's names right. It's not.
Well, what I was thinking actually is at the end of the tournament, once people have finished, if there's anyone that wants to come on the stream for an interview, we can do some interviews with people. And if we've pronounced anyone's names wrong, you can tell us how we're properly meant to say it. And,
that would be fantastic.
But it would be lovely to see some of the players, like if anyone's had a good game or whatever, just drop us a message and we'll see if we can organise that.
Yeah, exactly. And we're happy to go through them and look at it together.
All you need is a computer, so you can sort of link in. We can just send you a link, but you don't need any special streaming software or anything.
No. It's just a link in a browser, and then you come on. It's one of the most amazing things about the software that we use, that you can that's actually child's play to organise. We've done it with many different people for many interviews. On our Chess for Life site, for example, so delighted to hear from anyone who wants to show us a good game they've played. This is an exchange Caro-Kann. Black, I suppose, I think it's slightly unusually. Normally, in this system, you tend to put the bishop on f5 or g4. I've got to be a bit careful with it, but this is a little bit of a passive system from Black. Again, something unusual to allow this bishop to be exchanged. I mean, in principle, this knight on b4 is not doing a great deal. Easy to chase away with a3. So a little bit of a shame to allow the knight to do something useful, and exchange off, get the bishop pair for black. But probably white's just a little bit better here still anyway, because a bit more queenside space, a bit more central space. Take rook e1, knight b5. Queen b2, black grabs a pawn, so that hasn't worked out too well for white. But okay, black now takes maybe not the best decision. Plays bishop a4, but that enables white to get the b pawn back. Takes an a5. So probably the position's about balanced, I guess. Maybe a little bit easier for white because he's already on the 7th, and black will have to organise that. But in principle, you'd have thought that black should be vaguely all right in this position. And well, look at that, going for the b pawn, but the a pawn is hard to hold really. And black falls for a little trick here.
Oh dear!
7 check, full king, rook and king, and after bishop e7. This one disappears. So yeah, now it's quite difficult for black here. And knight h5 is not necessarily bad here. After bishop g3, you really should have taken that bishop. Because you need this bishop on b4 and pawn on a5 to be absolute rocks, basically. And after h6 was played, bishop e1. And this bishop gets removed, and this knight is in a great position now. This is going to get quite difficult for white. The pawn disappears, and rook takes a4, takes, yeah, and then this is just going to be
white should be winning here.
Yeah, and white did indeed win that in a number of moves. Now let's have a look. Round 2 hasn't started yet, has it? No. So
no. So round 2 is at 1:30.
1:30.
And the British Championships itself starts at 2:30.
Okay.
Have we looked at all the games now?
No, I'm looking now at the 8th game for the British Under-10s, and then we will have had a look at all of them, which I think is pretty good. So this is Luoki Wang against Raisin Katabai. I had a colleague who was called Reza, actually, but e3, e6, bishop e2. So semi-Slav, white playing a quiet system, but quite sensible, actually. Knight bd2. You're going to play b3, bishop b2. Not bad at all. C takes d5, maybe a little bit early, because yeah, black takes back with a c pawn, and again, a rook's going to come opposite the queen, which is always a little bit annoying. Bishop d3 allows knight b4 there.
Ooh.
Black straight away tees up a little trap.
Yeah, so takes, and bishop a6 to skewer the queen and rook.
Indeed. Knight e4. So white's already a little bit up against it. Rook c8, queen b2, bishop f6. Not sure bishop f6 is necessary. Sort of looking a little bit at a wall of pawns there, but I would have just gone rook c7 or something like that, just to, or maybe queen d7 to b5. Just double up the rooks would have been my suggestion. But a sharp little tactic there. Queen a3.
Oh, yeah.
Rook a3 allows rook c1, and this is yeah. I mean, white's done decently in swapping off the queenside pawns, but obviously you're still the exchange down, and black's got control of the open files, and yeah, this type of position with rook against knight is just a win for black. It's very hard to deal with that. Black played very simple.
Can just move more, really. It's just more mobile.
Unless the knight's got a superb outpost, where it's actually affecting the game. I mean, here the knight is protected, but it's not really affecting the game at all. And yeah, I mean, black plays very impressively here and wins that very easily. So yeah, so I think we've had a look at at all 8 games there from the British Under-8 and the British Under-10 there.
Okay, fantastic. So I think we should have a break there, and then we'll work out whether we're back at 1:30 or 2:30. 1:30's the next round. What do you think, Matthew?
Yeah, I'm happy to do
Why not?
that.
We'll do it. So we'll be back at 1:30 for the start of the next round, and then at 2:30 switch across to the championship, and then we'll sort of cover a bit of the juniors and a bit of the championship.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the championship will be fairly slow moving, of course. So because they're playing long play games and all that. So yeah, we'll keep a good eye on the juniors as well throughout that.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you everyone very much for watching. Thanks also to the juniors who popped into the chat after their games. It's really nice to see you, and congratulations all on the quality of the games as well, and great to see the British Championship back in person. It's rather nice, isn't it, having two, an online and an in person?
Yeah, I mean,
more chess.
I mean,
they're both really good events, so yeah, very lovely. Lucky.
I'm sure the online championship would never have got organised if it hadn't been for the lockdown. So, and now we've got twice as many events for people to to try. So, yeah, no, brilliant, fantastic.
Lots of champions. So that's
well done ECF as well for for managing to organise both in 1 year, because I think
it's actually been 3 in 1 year, you have to say, because the 2021 came into 2021, then we've had the 21, and then we've had so it's been a really full-on year for organising these things.
Fantastic. But we'll see you all.
Anyway, we'll see you back at 1:30. Thanks everyone very much for watching.
Thanks very much.